One of the best things about social media, obviously, is the ability to have the chatter with people from different parts of the world, different parts of the community, to be able to discuss some of these ideas and concepts that can happen, especially in rugby. One of the worst things about the social media is the fact that we can have all these people talk and some voices just don't need to have it. But this was a voice that I really, really liked. And I love the perception on this one because it impacted with the Olympics. And it came from the content creator. Most of you guys probably know. You guys know who she is. Sam Loves Rugby, huge content creator out of Oklahoma. Very focused women's rugby, but skits, everything, works AIGs, done great things, originally from Scotland. Yeah, you guys know it. But she asked a bit of a question on Threads. By the way, Threads is now going to start popping. It looks like Meta actually decided to start giving it time and making it easier for connectivity. And go take a look, because I think X might be in trouble. Sort of. I mean, it's still pretty controversial, so that gets people going. But Sam Love Rugby put this out. She said on Threads, "This may be a little controversial to talk about, but I'm curious if anyone else is feeling this way. Olympic team selections in Rugby Sevens have been coming out, and we are seeing multiple cases of 15s players crossing over at the last minute to take a space on the Olympic squad. I understand this is elite rugby, elite level sport, and it is ruthless. The best players must be selected. However, I'm curious how this will affect the sport in the long run. What message does this send to future potential Sevens athletes? I fear some countries are going to fall into a pattern of neglecting their Sevens squad program and taking it less seriously until the Olympics come around. Will players see this happening and plan their careers with this in mind? Individual star players inserting themselves at final hour may produce better results in the short term, but I see it as potentially harmful in the long." And I thought this was an actually legitimately interesting take. Like, there has been conversation. Obviously, we talked about some rosters. Nothing been finalized, but there was already conversations of for Great Britain, Elia Kildunn, who plays for the England Sevens side, jumping onto the Great Britain side this last I think the last HSB Sevens series, jumping onto the England side and with a chance to get on the Great Britain side. We got Antoine Dupont, who moved over from the 15 side, jumping over to the 7 side, foregoing the Six Nations along with that. And obviously, you always have these notable elements, notable players that have popped in from the 15 side, where most people consider 15s to be the dominant and more focused code of rugby. And then sevens, though sevens is now significantly more serious because of the Olympics, to be a little bit more still to this side. You don't have your best players there. But when it does come to the Olympics, everybody wants a chance to not only play for the country, but to get a chance to medal. And especially as an elite athlete, that is amongst the Super Bowl of dreams to achieve, to be able to get an Olympic medal representing your country, and then being able to have smack talking ability for 3-4 years before needing to do it again. But I thought about this one, and honestly, my thought process was on this. There is still going to be a value that goes to the matches that happen between the Olympics. I think these times have always been, in my opinion, considered the point where people get to get a feel and get to find out who your core tenements are. Obviously, getting cohesion and everything becomes a good major part of that. But you develop that over the period of time. We take a look at like the Australian team. Australia even is Catholic in their 7 team are looking to maybe jump over to the 15 side to be able to get some work for the Rugby World Cup 2025. You're going to only have so many people that you can build a core. You're not going to be able to, create a horror team in essence. That's just a compilation of random players at the final hour going into the Olympics. It's proven too much. It doesn't work very well. But at the same time, I think it's really important that the 15s and 7 sides do combine into each other. I think there's legitimate reason for the 15s players to wait their moment, because within the 15 season, you still have the Rugby World Cup that you're prepping for. You still got your regular test match, and you also have club rugby that's happening at the same time, which on the other side with the 7s players, Though they have more games per tournament, and their tournaments go over the course of a 6 months period. Most of them aren't typically playing club rugby at the same time, so it's not like they are they're tasked or they're overtasked, and we do want to see the best get played, and so we see that a lot in 15s. Now, the other component of it that I think is important is the marketability. I see it with New Zealand. Like, you have your guys that are in New Zealand Rugby Sevens, and some of them have made a name within New Zealand Rugby Sevens, like Scott Curry. I think him, McElhane, from who was captaining previously, I think for the last Olympic Games. Tim, I'm sorry, not Tom. Tim. You have guys that have made the name in it, but at the same time, man, as a fan, I want to see the guys that I see on a regular basis. Like, I want to see those dudes come out and ball out, because they're not sitting around doing nothing. Not like they're coming off the street. We see them doing work. Now it's just a chance to be able to represent for the country. And to be honest with you, to some extent, it's an all-star. I think that we look at those 4 years and it's like, okay, what's the all-star competition of the total body of work you're doing over these 4 years? Like, in the same vein, I want sevens players to be playing on Rugby World Cup teams. I think there's been a huge chasm that is missed whenever you have your 7 stars not playing on Rugby World Cup teams, and you have your 15 Rugby World Cup stars not playing on 7 Olympic teams. Like, I think those work for marketability and giving us the all-star kind of concept that you get. Again, I understand rugby works within the guise of cohesion, consistency, and rhythm. But if you have guys that know rugby and play rugby at a high level and are amongst the top 0.5% of players, they'll translate over most of the time, especially in your backs. I think, and I would love to see some forward. I would love to see a Jamie George go and be on the Great Britain Sevens team. I don't know if the conditioning would be there, but man, he would destroy at the prop side. Obviously. Now, some of that is a little bit wishful thinking, but I do think that there is a legitimate value, and I don't think that it's going to diminish the value of the 7 squads and the funding that goes to those 7 squads over the course of the 4 years. But because even within those 4 years, you're not playing the same people consistently. You always see there's rotations in. How many times do we look at like London Sevens, or we look at Vegas Sevens, or we get to freaking Singapore at the end, and we see like a whole different squad of young cats that are in camp and they're trying to get a look and see what's going. So it's not unusual that you would have people popping up and around at the final point. But I think over the long term, I think it's actually more beneficial. I think in the short term, only sticking with the 7 players that you have is the one that actually is only short term good. Getting your elite players to be your elite players is where the value of all this really is. Getting your elite players to be your elite players is where it is. Mano Capital hit me up going, other than USA Rugby, obviously, which would be your second favorite rugby nation? New Zealand? So this is, I'm going to say it crosses over within this concept, but I think when it comes to it, I like it with looking at South Africa. It probably is my top now. New Zealand was, but after they lost the guys from 2015, I just felt like they haven't recovered from, they haven't received that same swag level that they had. Like, it's not the same. And South Africa really has kind of like got that. Like, South Africa's swag level is top tier. But if you're talking about like from the heart, it's going to be Nigeria, and then on the outside, Uganda. Those 2 are the ones that I will focus on the most, that are non-traditional powerhouses or non-traditional rugby places. That would be in my 2 and 3. But traditionally, South Africa and then New Zealand afterward would be the other ones. And then everybody else kind of falls to the wayside for me. But let me know what you guys think about this concept. Like, do you think that it is a negative for 15s players to try and cross over to sevens squad for the Olympics, or for sevens players to try and move over to the 15s for the Rugby World Cup? Like, you guys know, if you've been listening, one of my favorite all-time squads was the USA Rugby women's sevens team, for USA Rugby women's 15s team that played in the 2017 Rugby World Cup, that brought the sevens players from the best sevens player, Nia Tapper, Chris Thomas, Alev Kelter, Cheta Emba, over to 15 side and played with the 15th player and one of the most dominant teams. We know with New Zealand, they basically just go back and forth between 15 and sevens. Like, they just live on the flux. Australia is starting to do it. Like, I think it's the best thing. And from the men's side, I feel like the men have been coddled out of it. I think they've been coddled out of it. I think people go, oh, the women's probably isn't as strong, so the women can go both sides. No, I think the men have been coddled out of having to do both 15s and 7. I don't think every guy needs to go do sevens, but I do feel like come Rugby World Cup time, come Olympic time, actually, I don't care about Rugby World Cup sevens. Just those two events. Those are the two biggest events in rugby. That is whenever we should see a coalition of marketing and talent and ability coming together. And that is crossing those two. So let me know what you guys think on that one.
We're taking dumplings to a new level. My name is Gifte Belu. I'm here with Health Enhanced Foods, and I want to introduce you to one of our most popular products, dumpling flour. What makes our dumpling flour so popular is that it is a mix of unrefined super flours that create the maximum level of nourishment for your personal dumplings. This is including mixes like buckwheat, sunflower, flax seeds, everything that helps to be able to make your appetite stronger, more fulfilled, and healthier. Including within that, we have no added sugars, so we want to make sure that it is rich in protein, rich in fiber, and rich in vitamins and minerals. Our dumpling flour is diabetic friendly, high in quality gluten-free mixes with no rice. And if you know, you know. There's always a little bit of rice to be able to stabilize it. Not here in our dumpling flour. It is naturally nourishing, and of course, it's a great substitute for wheat-based dumplings. With this gluten-free dumpling, you can now make your croissants, you can make your rice dumplings, you can make your dessert dumplings. You can absolutely find this at healthenhancedfoods.com. Go ahead, get yourself a bag, get yourself a pallet, and make sure that you can fulfill for your people and yourself the way that you really deserve it. Don't wait, let's go!